first of all, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present today. So my name is Chris Houchens. I'm the director of the Division of Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear Countermeasures at the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority within the Department of Health and Human Services. And so I just wanted to spend a few minutes today talking about how we work with industry and other partners to accelerate the development of products, specifically medical countermeasures, vaccines, therapeutics, diagnostics, devices, things like that, through really unique partnerships with the industry and through the strategic use of non-dilutive funding. So really, I'm just kind of backing up a little bit, what is BARDA? So again, it's the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. We're a funding organization. We don't do any of our own research. We have to partner with industry to support the development of countermeasures addressing, really, I would say, unmet medical needs that are focused on on national health security and public health. And really, what we do is we report to the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, or the ASPR. And the ASPR has a mission to ensure that the nation is ready to respond to any sort of the medical consequences of any sort of public health emergency. So, it could be earthquakes, tornadoes, it could be undocumented children coming over the southern border who need medical attention. But really kind of within our space, it is, to address the medical consequences, the injuries, the morbidity, the mortality that's associated with a number of threats. So chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear threats, pandemic influenza, emerging infectious diseases. And so what BARDA does is we really, enter into these unique public-private partnerships with industry to accelerate the research and development and delivery of innovative countermeasures, innovative technologies that are able to address the medical consequences of these public health emergencies and save lives at the end of the day. And we do this in a number of ways. We look for unique partnerships, unique contracting vehicles. We utilize a number of contracting authorities to partner with industry. We provide multi-year funding. We normally take a milestone-based approach to funding programs. Our programs are sometimes, and the level of support that we provide are sometimes in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So, we often break that up into, smaller segments of work and provide funding over, 5 to 10 years in some cases. One of the, I would say, unique attributes of BARDA compared to other funding organizations is we have a very large staff of subject matter experts who have come from industry after about spending 20 or 30 years in different areas of drug development. And they come here to BARDA and they have expertise in regulatory quality affairs and manufacturing and non-clinical development and clinical operations, clinical studies, in PKPD, whatever area, they have, expertise, domain expertise in all these different areas of drug development. They come here to BARDA and they serve as our, not just our advisors and our SMEs, but they serve as SMEs to our company, to our corporate partners, to our industry partners to help to identify risk and put in mitigating solutions or mitigating efforts before these risks manifest themselves and become, much more difficult to solve, and challenging solutions. So we provide subject matter expertise to our industry partners. We facilitate partnerships with our industry partners with other organizations throughout the US government that are involved in medical countermeasure development that may be able to take on a specific piece of a project to really accelerate and advance the development of that countermeasure. And we promote innovation across the board. We look for opportunities to support innovative products that are capable of having an outsized impact on addressing large public health needs. We support all phases of development. I would say traditionally we've been focused really on clinical development of countermeasures, regulatory activities that lead to approval or licensure of products, and then manufacturing and procurement of those approved medical countermeasures into the strategic national stockpile. But over the last several years, we really have started to move further to the left to support some of the earlier stage research and development, We have a number of different programs that are focused on supporting this earlier stage preclinical research and development of countermeasures before they enter phase 1. We have CARB-X, which many individuals may know about. This is our global accelerator in which we are working with a number of different funders from across the globe to support the preclinical research and development of really promising and impactful drugs, therapeutics, and vaccines to address the issue of antimicrobial resistance. We also stood up a new division over the past couple of years called the Division of Research, Innovation, and Ventures, which is focused on kind of that really blue sky, early stage, high risk, high impact research and development activities that, if they're successful, that they're going to be able to address really large problems in public health. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And we also established a relationship with Johnson & Johnson a couple of years ago, in which we established an incubator, a physical space here in the DC area called Blue Knight. And this allows innovative companies and innovators to come into the Blue Knight space, which again is supported and funded by BARDA, where they can really have that technical space surrounded by a number of other like-minded companies to really do some of that early stage research and development of promising candidate products that address our larger portfolio and our larger strategic space. So, you know, and they get mentoring, access to mentors at Blue Knight. They have access to other core capabilities, to shared services, to shared core labs within the incubator, but it really is supposed to accelerate the development of really promising technologies from the bench and eventually to the bedside. So long story short, you know, we really support all phases of research and development, all the way from discovery and hit to lead through clinical development, through manufacturing approval, and delivery eventually to the strategic national stockpile. So we have these capabilities available and ready at the time of need. As I said, everything that we do this in partnership with our industry partners. You know, we've, over the past, I don't know, it's been probably 15 years, we've partnered with close to 400 different partners. These are large pharmaceutical companies. These are small biotechs. These are small and medium enterprises. They're located here in the US, they're located outside of the US. It really doesn't matter. I mean, if it's a company that has a really promising, innovative, and impactful technology that aligns with our strategic investment approach to address, large issues in public health and national health security, we're interested in working with you. We're interested in working with these innovators. So, really large portfolio. It keeps growing. But it really shows, it's a testament to the types of, partnerships that we're trying to build here. It really covers the entire kind of landscape and waterfront of the type of innovators that we want to work with, large, small, and anyone in between. We've also worked, across the entire US government. We don't do this in a vacuum. What you see here is a number of organizations within HHS, within DoD, within other components like NASA, for example, that are focused on, developing technologies, developing innovations to address the medical consequences of injury and disease. So, what we work with other innovator partners, other funding partners to transition programs into our portfolio. So, you can think of NIH, specifically NIAID, is a really significant partner of ours. Within the DoD, it's the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, as well as JPO. We work very closely with DARPA. We work very closely with NASA. We work with really kind of any organization that is developing medical countermeasures that we see an opportunity to partner with those organizations to either transition their programs into our portfolio or to co-fund the development of those medical countermeasures. We work very closely with CDC. We work very closely with FDA. In order to ensure that we are providing companies, but also the FDA, the information that they need regarding our portfolio to help accelerate the regulatory review and approval of these countermeasures. Because, it doesn't really do us a lot of good just to support the development of a medical countermeasure if it doesn't get eventually across the finish line of regulatory approval. So Again, we work across the entire US government to identify opportunities for partnering, for collaboration, and for acceleration of medical countermeasure research and development. Over the past 15 years, 16 years, we've been really successful. We have overseen the regulatory approval, licensure, clearance of 61 medical countermeasures. So these are diagnostics, vaccines, therapeutics. They're addressing pandemic influenza, anthrax, Ebola, smallpox, botulinum toxin, burn and blast injuries, radiological injuries. Really, it's, sorry, I'm hearing a little background. So really, we've been really successful over the past, 15, 16 years working with our industry. Hello? Somebody has a hot mic. If you could please go on mute. So yeah, we've been really successful over the past 16 years working with our industry partners, trying to find flexible partnership opportunities and contracting mechanisms to provide non-dilutive funding to our partners to accelerate the development of these countermeasures. In short, this is kind of how we're organized. So what we see at BARDA, so what you see on the very left-hand side is you see our MCM programs. We have the chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear medical countermeasure program, which is what I am in charge of. The Influenza and Emerging Infectious Diseases division. We have a detection, diagnostics, and devices infrastructure division. We have, as I indicated before, the DRIVE division, or Division of Research, Innovation, and Ventures. And we have our manufacturing division, which we call the Pharmaceutical Countermeasures Infrastructure Division. We're a matrixed organization. So what we see here in the middle are some of the support services programs that provide capabilities and subject matter expertise to the programs on the left-hand side. They provide expertise in regulatory quality affairs and clinical development and non-clinical development. And then on the very right-hand side is our, I would say, the business unit of BARDA. This is our contract management and acquisition program. They really provide the contracting officers. They provide the business expertise. They provide the partnering opportunities to work with industry. They are the ones who have the warrants and the authorities to enter into partnerships with industry. And they work kind of as, the go-between between the BARDA programs and our industry partners to ensure that we have the appropriate vehicles in place to work with our industry partners. So I'm going to go and spend a few minutes on some of our programs within BARDA. So within the CBRN division, really kind of our goal is to make available at least one medical countermeasure against the different threats for which we have a mandate to develop medical countermeasures. So what you see on the very left-hand side are the 20 material threats that the Department of Homeland Security has identified as representing threats to public health and national health security within the United States. So there you can see some traditional things like anthrax and smallpox and plague, the radiological and nuclear threats are highlighted as well. Ebola is on there, Marburg. You see a number of different chemical threats that are listed on here, including nerve agents and vesicants, fluorine, cyanide, MDR anthrax is on here, and also this gray slice at the very top, which we call the unknown, or the unknown unknown, or threat X or disease X. And this really represents a catch-all for kind of our requirement to develop countermeasures against all those future threats for which we don't necessarily know what they are, but we have to be prepared for them anyways. And we're doing this in 3 different approaches. So we're investing in medical countermeasures to treat injuries, not the threat. This is especially important for threats that you can't necessarily see, or which are very fast acting. So you can think of radiological or ionizing radiation. You can't really address ionizing radiation. You have to address the medical consequences associated with a radiological event. Nuclear blasts, we address the injuries that are associated with nuclear blasts. A lot of our chemical threats are very fast acting, and you can't actually develop a medical countermeasure against them. So we're treating the injuries and not the threats for those particular threat spaces. On the very right-hand side, we're developing and delivering medical countermeasures against biological threats, bacterial and viral threats, anthrax, smallpox, plague, glanders, melioidosis, tularemia, Ebola, things like this. targeting the viral agents, targeting the bacterial agents themselves to, mitigate the medical consequences of those particular agents. And then in the middle is kind of bringing these two approaches together, really identifying those capabilities where we can develop medical countermeasures against unknown threats. So against unknown biological threats. So taking the, kind of thinking about the approach that we're taking on the left-hand side, which is developing countermeasures to treat the injuries and not the threats, and applying that to our biological threats, developing those countermeasures that are host-directed, that are broad spectrum, that are pathogen agnostic, so that we have capabilities to respond rapidly to an emerging event, and have those capabilities available so that we can, we don't have to wait till we have definitive vaccines and therapeutics available, but we can start treating the injuries associated with an unknown biological threat right away. One of our innovative partnering mechanisms that we've been utilizing over the past 6 years is the Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria Accelerator. This, as I indicated before, is our partnership. It's a global partnership that includes funders from Wellcome Trust, the UK government, the German government, BARDA, of course, NIH, and the Gates Foundation. And really, it established basically this global partnership to establish an accelerator that's being managed by Boston University to make investments in the early stage research and development of really promising antibiotic candidates. Over the past 5 years, we've provided $200 million in non-dilutive funding. Our additional funders, NIAID, Wellcome Trust, German and UK government, Gates Foundation provided another $300 million. So basically a $500 million investment that has supported 92 projects, which include 62 therapeutics, 15 diagnostics, and 15 preventatives, to support the early stage development of these candidates up through phase 1. There have been 9 graduates from the program over the past 5 years, 9 first-in-human studies, and a couple of these have led to advanced research and development contracts in the BARDA portfolio. Really kind of interesting, and importantly, this $500 million investment that the funders have provided to research and development of these antibiotics have been followed by about $2.2 billion follow-on private sector investment in these projects. So, really showing basically a 4-to-1 match or 5-to-1 match for our investments that have led to follow-on investments from the private sector. So NextX, this is just the Next Accelerator. So CARB-X was a 5-year project. It actually ended last year. We extended it for a year, but we've made a commitment to continue this accelerator, and we're in the process of doing that. We're in the process of identifying who the accelerator is going to be, and really kind of I would say some of the things that a lot of things that we learned from the last 5 years with CARB-X, we're really trying to translate into this, what we're calling, colloquially, NextX. And it really is demonstrating our commitment to preclinical and clinical development of these really promising antibacterial candidates, and really, kind of continue what we have been doing in providing non-dilutive financing and really wraparound services to our product developers. The first effort, the CARB-X, was a 5-year project. We're committed to a 10-year period of performance. We're still looking for matching funds. And we're really going to be focused on a more strategically focused portfolio going forward. So, we anticipate that we're going to be able to make an announcement in the next few months about NextX. We put out a solicitation back in the summer, received proposals, and we're really kind of going through that process now of identifying the accelerator for the next 10 years. Project BioShield, this is really our commitment to support the very late stage development of countermeasures, the manufacturing of those countermeasures, and putting those countermeasures into the strategic national stockpile. So this really, once we have a product that has been supported in our clinical development portfolio, we transition it to Project BioShield so that we can really support, kind of finish it off, get it across the finish line, support its manufacturer, and then put it into our SNS. Over the past, 12, 13 years, we've supported 30 products under Project BioShield. We procured 22 of those products, and out of those 30 products that we supported, 24 of those have been approved, licensed, or cleared by the FDA. So what you can see here on the left-hand side, the threat wheel, again, it shows the threats for which we have a mandate to develop countermeasures against. And if they're in green or light green, we have already procured a product for that threat. If they're in orange, we're developing products for those threats. And the one in red is what we have not yet developed a product or a medical countermeasure against that threat, which is MDR anthrax. Really kind of the purpose of Project BioShield, it really is the push that pulls. So, we've heard a lot, we know that, at least in our space, the valley of death is often the post-approval phase for a medical countermeasure because often there is no commercial market here. So Project BioShield provides that financial instrument to allow companies, once they got a product approved, gives them the capital to be sustainable, so that we can, so that company can stay in the space and continue to not just deliver that specific countermeasure for which we've supported its development, but also continue to innovate and develop and deliver new medical countermeasures for the future. Project BioShield supports phase 3 post-marketing requirements, the conduct of pediatric studies to expand the label of our medical countermeasures, supports studies to expand the label for biothreat indications, but again, really provides that capital that allows a company, once they've kind of entered that very capital-intensive phase of post-market approval, gives them the capital that allows them to basically stay in business, be sustainable, and continue to deliver countermeasures and develop new countermeasures for the future. The vision for CBRN for the future, we're going to continue to focus on developing kind of threat agnostic and broad spectrum antivirals with efficacy against large families and species of viral threats. For antibiotics, we have a new program or a new effort that we call 4 in 30, which is to develop and procure 4 new antibiotics that address MDR bacteria by 2030. We're looking at identifying host-based threat agnostic MCMs that address the injuries of a biological threat rather than the threat itself. We're looking at new technologies, new flexible technologies for manufacturing vaccines. Think of point of care technologies, on-demand manufacturing of vaccines, so that we don't have central CMOs, a single CMO, let's say in the United States, that is manufacturing a vaccine, but we have them distributed throughout the U.S. Perhaps even eventually at your local pharmacy, where you have a smaller population of individuals that have to be supported, but you have the capabilities to support on-demand manufacturing in a localized, distributed fashion. And really, we're expanding our burn portfolio to start focusing on development of new countermeasures for blast trauma care. For kind of switching to pandemic response and some of our efforts there. So our division of influenza and emerging infectious disease really has the mandate to ensure that we're prepared to respond to pandemics. And it really, what we show here is kind of a notional depiction of new infections due to a ongoing pandemic. And how we can accomplish the goal of flattening this curve by making available antivirals to be utilized, very quickly, very early during a pandemic response, so you can reduce the incidence of infections per day. If you combine that with rapid diagnostics and also non-pharmaceutical interventions, you can further flatten the curve, down to what we see in this blue curve. And really, the definitive countermeasure here is combining these different approaches: early antiviral use with NPIs and rapid diagnostics, along with definitive vaccines, in which we really, this is our goal, to really not have a curve, that we can keep it completely flat by having all these different approaches available to us. We do this by focusing on a number of different areas within the emerging infectious disease program, which is detection of a ongoing event. identifying very early on whether you are infected, even in asymptomatic individuals, preventing, the spread of a pandemic through NPIs, through devices, through respiratory devices, through masks, through social distancing. And then really for those that are infected, making sure that we have, antivirals and monoclonal antibodies and other therapeutic modalities available to treat those individuals. Ensuring that we have a vaccine stockpile to respond quickly to an ongoing or an emerging event. And really ensuring that we have the production capacity, making sure that we can quickly scale up and scale out the production of vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics to respond to a rapidly emerging event. And lastly, improved vaccines, trying to find new types of ways, new innovations to increase, or to improve the vaccines that we have, increase their stability, decrease the temperature requirements for those vaccines, find new ways to deliver and administer the vaccines through, let's say, vaccine patches. So kind of this is, our overall goal, our overall approach to ensuring that we're better prepared to respond to a pandemic in the future. Really, we're doing this through investment in lots of different innovative approaches, faster vaccine production by investing in manufacturing platforms, and as well as new mechanisms for faster testing and release, increasing vaccine production, really focusing on antigen and adjuvant production, making sure that we have those available in the stockpile, but also making sure that we have capacity in the US to make those, manufacture those vaccines at scale, improving antigen yield, improving and expanding our filling capacity, and investing in capabilities such as our Centers for Innovation for Advanced Development and Manufacturing. I indicated we're investing in improved vaccine delivery, looking at new alternative routes of administration, getting down to single-dose vaccines to ensure compliance with vaccinations, and really trying to get rid of the need for needles and syringes. And that really kind of goes back to looking at new routes of administration. And really, lastly, just improving access and effectiveness, expanding the age range for licensed vaccines, improving efficacy through improvements in adjuvants, antigens, and delivery, and just really expanding our capabilities for adjuvant testing. For therapeutics, really a three-pronged approach. We're looking for development of antivirals for outpatient use, looking at long-acting antivirals, and really targeting the host. This is really kind of focused on having capabilities to respond rapidly to an emerging event without actually knowing exactly what the etiological agent is. So these could be immune modulators, drugs that target repair and host repair mechanisms, but just ensuring that we have something available to respond right away to treat the medical consequences of a rapidly emerging event before we have definitive medical countermeasures like vaccines in place. A lot of what I just talked about, this is part of our playbook that we've established over the last many years, but we've learned a lot from the COVID-19 response that we've been leading over the past 2 years. And really kind of the goal of this was, we're really trying to pivot existing and proven technologies to expedite the delivery of medical countermeasures for the detection, treatment, and prevention of COVID-19. We had a number of platforms, we had a number of capabilities within our portfolio, and we re-geared those, we re-engineered those, we redirected those to other threat areas and redirected them to COVID-19. We leveraged our flexible partnerships with industry. We de-risked the development costs with our industry partners by guaranteeing advanced purchases of their vaccines and therapeutics. And we really have helped to establish domestic based manufacturing capabilities for COVID-19 MCMs. Some of our early actions, we stood up the task force in January 2020, which is really an interagency group of lots of organizations and agencies throughout the US government that were focused on the development of medical countermeasures for COVID-19. We opened a market research portal a day after, in which we're able to work with industry and receive proposals that were focused on development of countermeasures for COVID-19. We started making very early investments based upon our already established partnerships in February and March of 2020 that were focused on proven vaccines, therapeutic and diagnostic technologies. In March, as everybody knows, the WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic. And in May 15th, the Medical Countermeasure Task Force kind of served as the basis for the establishment of Operation Warp Speed. And this is where we were really able to start investing tens of billions of dollars in our partners to support early vaccine and therapeutic research and development that led, as everybody knows, in less than a year to the delivery of authorized vaccines and therapeutics to address the pandemic. This just really shows, some of our early efforts that led to either the authorization or approval of medical countermeasures. So, the Moderna vaccine was authorized. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine received a BLA. Supported the development of Janssen's vaccine, the Ad26 COVID-19 vaccine, and AstraZeneca's vaccine, as well as a number of different therapeutics by Regeneron, Lilly, Roche, GSK, and Merck. So a lot of efforts that really were established in 2020 that led to these successes in 2021. Overall, our COVID-19 response, we've entered into 156 partnerships with industry. We interacted with we've had about 4,600 interactions with industry through our market research portal. We held about 700 meetings with industry since 2020. We oversaw one FDA licensure. This is for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. A number of EUAs, 3 for vaccines, 7 for therapeutics. We've supported 98 products, and we've invested $57 billion in the last 2 years, $35 billion for vaccines, $21 billion for therapeutics, and $500 million for diagnostics. And the goal is that, or the impact is that we've delivered 610 vaccine doses of COVID-19 since 2020 and administered 503 million doses. So, and again, this is all non-dilutive funding that have gone to our industry partners. So really kind of the principles for future pandemic preparedness, ensuring that we have flexible agreements in place with industry, developing platforms for faster development and manufacturing of vaccine, ensuring that we have sustainability, ensuring that, we have sustainable funding so these capabilities and these capacities don't go away. Improved delivery, looking at new ways to deliver and administer vaccines and therapeutics so we don't rely on syringes, we don't rely on needles, we don't rely on 3-hour infusion times. We need to work faster. We need to figure out how to get these vaccines and therapeutics into arms much quicker, and expanding production capacity in the US, whether it's through development of new contract manufacturing organizations or through new point of care on-demand manufacturing capabilities, just making sure that we are able to respond rapidly and provide those vaccines very quickly to the individuals that need them the most. The Division of Research Innovation and Ventures, as I said, this was established a couple of years ago. The goal here is to really kind of invest in those very early stage, blue sky, high risk, high reward type of capabilities and technologies that have, are going to have a large impact on addressing large public health needs. The vision here is to really ensure that the most effective life-saving MCMs are developed and made available to everybody who needs them when they need them. It's a very diverse portfolio. I'm not going to read each of these. I'll just point out a couple of them. We're focused on host-based therapeutics, very much aligning with the other programs within BARDA, such as my program and the Influenza and Pandemic Influenza and Emerging Infectious Disease program, to develop host-based therapeutics. The Beyond the Needle program is looking at how do we transform the way that we administer and deliver vaccines and therapeutics so that, that we get rid of needles and syringes, looking at, let's say, needleless patches, for example. Digital MCMs are our way to develop deployable digital tools that really kind of serve as that very first front line of defense against health threats. Enact is at the other end. These are wearable sensors that people, wear in their arms. Think of like a Fitbit watch that are able to tell you, before you have any symptoms whatsoever, that you are infected, that you are about to have a heart attack, that you have some underlying biomarker that indicates that there is an event that is about to happen within your body, so that you can, that you're empowered, that you can, make a decision to go see your doctor right away and be able to be checked out. So really kind of a broad spectrum of different products and programs within the Drive portfolio, addressing kind of end-to-end solutions on delivering healthcare, really focused on the patient and empowering the patient to make decisions for themselves. Blue Knight, I indicated before, this is one of our kind of more recent innovative approaches that we've established to support early stage research and development of countermeasures. Really, through JLab's Blue Knight, as well as the Drive Accelerator Network, it really is focused on, identifying, doing market research to identify novel technologies that, that align with our strategic investment areas, doing market research on what are the capabilities that we really need to provide a large impact on public health needs. Providing wraparound support to our innovators and product developers, and really supporting, networking events and outreach events to engage the developer community, the innovator community, to ensure that we have situational awareness as to what are some of the most promising technologies that are being developed. BARDA Ventures is one of our newest efforts. This was launched by the Division of Research, Innovation, and Ventures, and basically, what it allows us to do, it establishes a fund. As I indicated before, most of our funding is non-dilutive. This is actually dilutive funding, and it's the first time that we've been able to do something like this. And basically, BARDA is committed to providing about $250 million that is going to be matched by a third-party investor, in this case, GHIC, or the Global Health Investment Corporation. Nonprofit organization that's focused on life science investments to generate, really large impacts on global public health. But the goal is to, bring together, the $250 million from BARDA, $250 million that GHIC is going to raise from other investors to develop a $500 million fund that goes out and makes investments on behalf of BARDA that aligns with our strategic interest and needs. The investments, these are, equity-based investments. If there is a return, and the fund is going to invest in companies, not specific technologies, but in companies. And if the company has a return on investment, then, the other outside investors will be paid off. But the remaining profits or the remaining ROIs will go back into this fund to really establish a evergreen investment fund that allows us to continue to invest in these really transformational technologies addressing large public health needs and public health security. Just real quickly, the way that BARDA engages with industry, we have our portal that we call TechWatch. It allows us to engage directly with industry partners who have promising medical countermeasure ideas, technologies, innovations that are in addressing the needs within influenza and emerging infectious diseases, diagnostics and devices, the CBRN division, the Drive division, and also the pharmaceutical countermeasure infrastructure division. So basically, this is a portal or a mechanism where a company will come in, basically pitch their idea to BARDA and a larger group of stakeholders that are interested in medical countermeasure development. We provide feedback to the companies. We talk about alignment with our strategic investment strategy. We talk about some of the technical issues about their approach. Think of it, it's almost like a Shark Tank for medical countermeasure development. And it's something that's open to anybody who wants to come in to pitch their program to BARDA. And and get an audience before BARDA. And really, the process is, the way that we engage with industry is, we will conduct outreach with, potential industry partners. We engage with partners through events like this, going to scientific conferences, to other stakeholder conferences, and really, talk about what we're doing and what we're interested in, what we're looking for, so that people have a good understanding of what our priorities are. Tech Watch I just talked about. This is a way for companies to come in and pitch their programs to BARDA. The companies, if they get a kind of favorable feedback from these engagements, they submit a proposal that gets reviewed by a government panel of subject matter experts. We enter into negotiations with the company if we find that, this is a technology that we want, and it's the right partner to develop the technology. We enter into negotiations for a contract with those partners, and then we establish this public-private partnership. One of the other ways that we engage with the developer community is through our EZBAA. This is really a very small dollar amount kind of threshold for engagement with industry partners. One of the benefits of this is that we can go from basically a proposal to award in about 30 days of submission of the proposal. If it's a regular, traditional FAR-based contract for product development, sometimes that whole process can take, the process that I showed here can take over about a year. This process can be accomplished in about 30 days, but it's a much smaller dollar amount. It's about $750,000 as our max. It requires a cost share commitment on behalf of the company. But it really allows us to kind of work with industry partners on some really promising, innovative ideas. So, again, sorry for being late for this, but just really appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about BARDA, how we engage with industry, and how we kind of really partner with innovators and technology developers to discover, research, and develop promising medical countermeasures that address really large issues in public health preparedness. And this just shows up here some of the different ways for engagement with BARDA. I would suggest, if you want to learn more about BARDA, check out the one on the very left-hand side, medicalcountermeasures.gov, and it'll take you to our landing pages for all our different programs. We'll convey our priorities and how to engage with us further. So with that, I will take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Do we have any questions? We can take questions for 5 minutes. If anybody has questions, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Excuse me, this is Richard Theron of Cernios Group. Can service providers, assist innovators in vaccine development, and if so, how can service providers, qualify, through the BARDA program to offer these services?
Yeah, so just to make sure that I understand the question, can you tell me a little bit more about when you say service provider? Do you mean like a CRO, for example?
Yes, CROs, regulatory manufacturers. Yeah. We want to assist our clients, but we'd like to help them get through the BARDA program. What process can we go through or help them go through?
Right. So all of our contracts are really focused on the product developer itself. The sponsor for a medical countermeasure, for example, would be the one that we contract with. But our contracts are built to allow our funding to go support the subcontractors to the prime. So I would say a lot of our contracts, I would say the prime sometimes is the recipient of a very small amount of the total funding that we may provide to the contract, and the majority of the funding will go to the service providers, to the CROs, to the CMOs, whatever it might be. the one thing we have to avoid, a situation we have to avoid is if you're a service provider, that is interested in working with companies, we really try to avoid a situation where, we tell a company that, a prime that we may want to work with or enter into a contract, that you should partner with this service provider over there as a sub, because, we don't want to be responsible for that relationship, especially if that relationship, for whatever reason, goes south. We really want to not be the one who is put in the middle and was told, well, you brought us together and now you're responsible for the dissolution of this relationship. But what I would suggest is, if you go to our website, you can see all the companies, all our industry partners that we're currently working with. If there are capabilities that you think you may be able to provide to any one of them, I would suggest reaching out to them directly in a business-to-business manner. I would suggest, attending our BARDA Industry Day, which occurs every October/November, in which a lot of our current, but also future potential industry partners are present and, looking to engage and interact with BARDA. And that's a good opportunity for service providers to identify those opportunities to work with them.
So, Chris, I have a question. First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. It was great. I'm Patrice Milos. I'm with Proof Diagnostics, and we're at the point where we've developed a CRISPR lamp point of care with potential for at-home testing platform. Low cost, extremely sensitive, specific. Would BARDA be appropriate for consideration of our manufacturing scale up at this point? Because it's really a big capital investment we need to make now.
Yeah, a lot of our investments do go to scale up manufacturing. What we can't use our funding for is brick and mortar, but we can use it to support the acquisition of equipment, for example.
Yes, exactly.
So we can do that, and then we can support the activities that are focused on manufacturing scale up. If it's a countermeasure, if it's a device, if it's a technology, an innovation that we're really interested in, we could support that. So what I would suggest is reach out to me.
Okay, great.
And I can connect you with the right people.
Okay, thanks.
And anybody here, if you have any questions whatsoever, you have any additional information that you want to share with me, that you want to get my input on, I'm going to put my email in the chat. Just feel free to reach out to me. Often I don't have the answer, but I often know who does have the answer. So let me make sure I send that to everybody. All right. Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much.